Hey, how are we doing? Sorry about the delay here. I had a few technical issues and had to do something at the last second. So YouTube was having a little issue. I actually had to restart at the last second, and I was just waiting for everything to load back up. It literally locked up on me and wouldn't do anything. So hopefully everybody can hear me. Everything should be good to go. Let's see here. Okay, let's see here. Sorry, folks. Give me just a second here. Let me make sure everything else is still straight. Hang on just a second here. I'm sorry. I know this is not what I... Hang on. Sorry about that. Hopefully y'all can hear me. It's been one of those weeks here. I've been really busy. A lot of stuff going on. Hang on just a second here. I clicked the wrong button on the feed, and for some reason... Hang on just a second. I'm sorry about this, folks. I've got like 3 things open, and I'm trying to close off a couple of the extra junk. Okay. Let's get on to the topic here. I'll shoot out some, call outs and stuff like that in just a few moments here. You all saw the new summer update. And for those who do Etsy, Etsy's probably way worse news than anything on the summer update. I don't see anything on summer update that I'm going to really worry about at all. I do some things and some of the test things that eBay does, and I'm on some of the like internal boards that offer things. I get nothing out of it. It's anybody could have joined it back a few years ago. Maybe you still can. I don't know, but like eBay expressions and stuff like that, and some of the stuff that's going on. I've actually got to test ahead of time, like the new overseas shipping option. I was able to test that and stuff before it was rolled out and stuff. I don't see anything really to worry about in my book. The offers to watchers and viewers, I think, is one of the big one now that they've upped the amount that those can go to. I would like to say, though, that they were supposed to already have a pay-per-click option on there, but I would say with all the issues with promoted listings and all the backlash that they got, they kind of maybe backed off or slowed down, considering that the CEO still isn't in place. So who knows what they're doing with that. If you're like me, though, and you're on Etsy, Etsy is going to force everybody who makes or sells over $10,000 a year to pay for promoted listings, whether you want it or not. That's like the biggest thing. Now, if you're, again, on Etsy, you know that they've already did the free shipping for their site and a bunch of other stuff like that, which is a money grab more than anything else. I think forcing people to do promoted listings is a big, huge thing because the fees on Etsy aren't that great, but with their promoted listings forced on you, it's like 12 or 14% if I read it correctly on there. It's been something they've been working on for a while, so I'm not surprised that they're doing that route. Everybody's trying to garner as much fees because, again, there's so many sites. Everybody's pulling from each other's sites, and it's gotten to be almost a brawl aspect with what they're doing with it. I'm not saying it's not a good thing or anything like that, so don't get me wrong. eBay, that is, and the site selling online. But it's getting much harder. The title is Reselling for You. Do you have what it takes? I'm going to just shoot this part out there first. I've been dealing with a lot of other sellers who have been going back to full-time jobs and buying their stock, at least what I want out of their stock. Not just a couple, but quite a few constantly. I have 3 more emails just this week of people wanting to know if I wanted to buy. They can't afford it. They can't do it. Where I live, anybody who's just doing thrift stores and stuff, I would say is pretty much almost dead in the water if that's all you're doing is trying to live on thrift stores in my area. Again, I'm not saying that's everywhere, but here, oh my God, it is so bad. I don't do thrift stores personally. We go in them occasionally. I did a video the other day and we said, let's see what's going on. I don't source at thrift stores. Like for 99.9% of my items do not come from a thrift store of any kind. There's no bins. Again, I don't care if somebody goes to a bins. That's not the issue. But there aren't any within a 3-hour drive from me, 3-hour one way. So I don't have all those sources. So people ask, where do you find this? Where do you find that? I've had to source outside the box for a very long time before it got to the state that it's in right now, at least in my area. Again, I'm talking about where I live. I'm not talking about where you live. Where I live, that's how it's like. And the video that I put up talking about that with wasting time on thrift stores, I got more emails from people on that specific video than I have in months. And I mean a lot of emails, personal emails, as well as like 70 plus, maybe it's even more than that, comments just about that, where people commented about the same thing on the thrift store. And the emails all pretty much are the same, other than one that I think they were just trying to be a jerk and sarcastic. But the majority of every comment and thing I got is telling me that the same thing is happening. And this is even in England. I got quite a few folks from England and said the same thing, that they can't do any of those charity shops anymore at all. I can't do any of them. There's no, I'd starve to death if I had to do the thrift stores where I live. There's just no way on earth that I could do it. So I'm so glad that we've steered our stuff to a different direction. Etsy is good for selling quite a few things, but them doing that pretty much instantly turned me off that they actually rolled it out with the way they were doing it. The shipping was bad enough, but they're not totally ignoring all the people who sell on the platform. Totally. I mean, it's one of the biggest money grabs that I could see. eBay didn't even go that far to force you to have your items advertised, whether you wanted them or not. Now, if you make less than $10,000 on Etsy and you're just like a smaller seller, you're not going to have that issue. It's automatically going to set up to take offers, but you can turn that off if you make less than $10,000. That's nothing more than a horrendously awful thing to do to sellers. Now, they say, just like eBay does, that you won't get billed unless it was sold through the promoted listing. Now, we're going to have to trust them on that, is my only consideration. And even like eBay telling you promoted listings aren't blocked and all that other stuff, they're not being honest still with that. They still have that 2% stated remark. Well, not stated, but so I have a very, very big problem with the trustability of them saying stuff like that. It's to the point where, you got to be cautious whatever site you go to. The bigger they get, the more they sway these things. It's just a matter of time. When Poshmark gets a little bigger, you're going to have issues in McCrary. It's inevitable. I mean, every site's done this. Every single site who's grown their business at some point has levied stuff like this on it. I'm not saying stop selling or anything like that, but you're going to have some major sourcing skills if you're going to continue to do this, is my take on that. I don't see another way around it. You're not going to have some magical thrift store if you were in an area like I live in. And I'm in a fairly big town. There's a lot of stuff around here. Savers both went under. 2 of the Goodwills have lowered the size. They've dropped the space that they have for storefronts by half. Their website is pretty much where most everything of value goes to. And we went and looked at even clothing. As I said, well, let me just see what type of clothing was on the shelves and stuff. I wasn't going to buy any clothing, but I wanted to know. And I couldn't even find clothing to buy. And this is for any of the thrift stores around here, really. It's so drastically bad. The only thrift stores that I have any luck on are ma and pa's, and they call me when they get something usually. I help out some of the stores around here with some electronic repairs and things. So stuff like that gets me in the door sometimes. So I just can't. Yeah, Duncan, on your post, I just saw one pop up. Once you've hit a certain point, you can't go up to the top of the chat, just to let you know. So if you see you can't find your chat or post from, early in the chat, it won't show up until you play it back later on after it's processed. Once it hits a certain point down, I can't even read them on my end. They're just gone for now. They're still there, but it only allows you to go back so far, Duncan. But again, I'm going to go back to this again here. People are going under here selling online right this very second. I have 3 people right now just this week who're curious if I'd be interested in buying out the rest. They're taking jobs and things like that. And that seems to be a big group of people right now in the winter who haven't been able to survive in certain areas. Now, again, there's some stores in some cities that the Goodwills and all the other thrift stores are thriving. It just depends on what's out there. I'm in a industrial area, so there's not a lot of people in the general scheme of things that make a ton of money. And even in the nicer sections of town, there aren't any thrift stores left. Savers, the one that closed down, was probably in the better section of town. It was near the college and the whole works, but it's totally gone. I used to get college books there and things like that. Nowadays, I try to get them straight from the university, but anyway. So, you're going to have to immediately get onto the platform if you're just getting started, you've been on for a little while, and start to source out other things, other areas, try things like RA, FBA, different platforms. It's getting harder, and I can tell you for sure from all the comments I got. If I added up the comments from that video, it's 120 or better between the multitudes of emails I got over that, asking questions on this and that and stuff. It's obviously with all the feedback that it's semi-nationally thing going on. And I had other people tell me that, you will always be able to sell clothing, you always be able to do this. But the point of it is that eBay can block you from selling anything on the site by just zeroing it or only authorizing it for certain sellers, and that's going to come down at some point, especially with Amazon admitting that they have a problem with knockoffs. Amazon has had a lot of issues. If you read the boards and the Reddits, look in your seller account, look at all the chats at the bottom in your seller account, look at all the chats that are going on the online Amazon forums and stuff, and there's a lot of stuff going on. I got a gating notice for something else the other day, actually, too, even, and so did a couple other friends. So I know Amazon is still hitting some of those areas that there are counterfeits out there. I've swayed away from certain types of electronics and things like that as well, too, just because it's items that, could be gated in the future. And I'm not trying to tie up money into things that I'm not going to be able to sell. So when you're starting this, the biggest problem I see for all the folks who are bailing on reselling and having issues is they're only looking from day-to-day operations, and they haven't thought about what's going to happen next month or next year in their big scheme of things. It's not something that can't be fixed as long as you start on it, but things like not spending money even though it's coming in at one time of the year, that's another thing. Right now I'm getting comments. That's probably the second worst thing that I hear people saying. They didn't save enough for taxes. They didn't realize taxes in this. So at the end of the day, once they've paid their taxes, as long as they're reporting correctly, some of them didn't make much money last year. So, you've got to set stuff aside, and you're always looking out for the future when you're doing reselling, because there's nobody to back you up at all. It's just you. I don't want this to be some shocker conversation here, but I got a lot of comments, and a lot of people commented and emailed me personally, and I don't get this many all the time. I may get 20 or 30 a day, but this is way more emails than it's almost double in the last couple days on emails just related to this. Some of them are people offering to sell because they can't make a living and things like that too, which I'm not out to buy any clothing or anything like that. I have bought a bunch of vintage stock from several dealers who did go under recently, real recently. In fact, some of the haul pieces you've seen, one of the pieces in the haul came from another, not really a picker, but another seller who can't pay his bills at this point. So, I helped him out what I could, but I didn't pay him what he wanted for him. I paid him what I pay for things. I would have passed otherwise. I'm not, trying to milk it for somebody, but I don't, it's business. I only pay so much no matter what the situation is. That's just the way I do it. I mean, that's business. You got to take personal aside from your business and look after your business. It's gotten to a state here anyway. As I said, there's no garage sales, there's no flea markets. The people who didn't invest in time from, moving a little bit away from clothing, or at least diversifying and starting to look for auctions and things like that, they're clueless on going to an auction, so they haven't been able to do good on that either. And people like me who are at the auctions are willing circles around them with what's good, what's bad. So the biggest thing I can say, everybody at this point, if you've got what it takes, you're not going to give up, you're going to diversify, you're going to broadcast your stuff out to different sites. There's no other way to do this in where I live. If your situation is the same as mine, you're going to have to diversify. You're going to have to look out for odder different items, or bulk purchases, or wholesale is always good. As long as you get in the game in the right items, looking to future purchases, what's going to be hot in another month or two. I give stuff like that away all the time, like movies and stuff. If movies coming out, especially if it's like a sequel, like a Toy Story 5 or something like that, what's going to be hot. Action movies, superhero movies, tie-ins for that, all that kind of stuff. But it's the same ploy that you play for Christmas. Just FYI, it's the same ploy you play for Christmas, though, knowing or looking into what might be hot. I buy Christmas stuff ahead of time, a year in advance. Last year we bought Christmas for this year already. So, you lock down wholesale, you put money down. But again, don't be looking at it from day to day. Look ahead quite often. Look at your week in advance, a month in advance, a year in advance. I got a video coming out too that's going to be on projections, because people all the time, how do you know where you're at in sales and this and that? I have a group total. I don't literally just look at like an eBay my sales anymore. I used to just track the individual sites, but now everything just goes into a forum and it all pulls together, and then I get a total. Then I do sales projections, and I can calculate whether I'm up or down any given day of the week. Anytime really is what you want to do, but I'm going to go into that. I've talked about it before, but I've got a lot of people asking on that and worrisome. The rule of thumb is, don't worry if you know what's going on with your sales, where you're at in projections, because one day you could be down, or a week could be down for various factors, and then the next week you're up and you made more, and it all balances out in my book. And even like if you got a bad month, I know quite a few people have told me this month has been bad for them. I don't have that experience at all, and in fact, I'll probably post a screenshot of how much eBay says I'm up over last year and up over last month on Instagram. For those of you who are on Instagram, I do post stuff up there. But it's a balancing act to some extent. My only consideration is, at the end of the year, where's my numbers going to be? If I'm down one month and the month before I was way up, and the next month I'm way up, and then I'm down again, I don't care. It's what matters at the end of the month. I don't panic anymore at all, because once you hit a certain point, it comes in no matter what. I can almost set my clock by our daily sales, daily average sales. I average it out. I do, as I said, projections. So it just depends on your business skills, I should say, as to, how you understand this and what you get into it. And most of the people that have been bailing have never run a business before either. Again, that's not a necessity to do this, but you got to pick up on all those little nuances of selling online, proper keywords, photos, what sells, what doesn't sell, which platform is the best platform for which item you're going to sell, because some items sell better on other platforms. Even such a thing as your feedback rating has a huge play in how well you do. Your return policy, huge play. Whether you're pushy with getting paid immediately, whether you send out quick enough. I mean, for those of you who have seen it getting harder and harder to do this, those are all factors that will help you stay on top of other folks in my book. And it does help me. I don't have the slow sales. I'm still doing fourth quarter numbers right this very minute. Like good numbers still too. So, I've showed you some figures here. You can see, we had what ended up being 2,350 was the busiest week I've had in this month, I think. Or was it this? No, it's the second busiest, because I did 33 or 34 in one day this month still too. So we had 2 days that did like 5,500 in sales between those 2 days added. So my numbers are solid right now. Watch the video, you'll see exactly. And I think I posted some of my sales numbers on Instagram as well too. But hang on, let's see who's here before I lose all my chat here. Not trying to ignore anybody here. Let's see here. Hey Mark, how are you doing? I saw Duncan. I got Theo is number 1. First comment here. And my dog's down here. Hustle and Grind Calgary, how are you doing? For Taiwan shipping, Duncan sold to Taiwan. I have started to test. Oh, my dog. I'm sorry. I got a dog and his hair is like all over her hair. I started to test shipping things straight to other countries, adding a few here and a few there, and seeing if that does anything. It has increased my international sales a little bit by adding a couple more countries direct ship. with the new option that eBay has, I'm going to give it a shot. I've played around with it in the first point when they were testing it before they rolled it out for everybody. Sometimes stuff will show up in my store and there will be no explanation on why they're there, like before they announce it and stuff. Again, because I'm in the a couple of the programs that eBay has, and they'll just give you the feature. Sometimes you have to request it, like would you like to be part of this, and you'll have to submit a request. You won't know if you get in it sometimes, and I was into the advancement on the international shipping. So I'm going to be opening up my international shipping to more and more countries, anything under £4, and ship straight through them through first class international, which is what I use for everything under £4 to the countries that I ship to overseas. I have not had a single solitary issue in probably 2 or 3 years doing that. The one country I did was Belgium, and I haven't shipped to Belgium in a long time. I may open it up again. Maybe the 2 or 3 people that have kind of screwed around with stuff may not be around anymore. I'll have to play that by ear. Hey Carl, how are you doing, Carl? Thank you for the super chat, $10 super chat. Changing prices in bulk and items to increase sales per a recent video. Does it matter if it's just 5 cents? Also, what day of the week do you suggest doing this? I don't pay attention to days of the week at all, anymore at all. I've never done pocket change. I only usually do like $1 up, $5 up, $10 up, or $1 down, $5 down, $10 down, something like that, when I'm doing the bulk changes on that. Maybe 5 cents is fine, I don't know, but my theory on that would be that if eBay pays attention to any numbers, it's only going to be the total dollar figures. If you're like in an app or something, you can set it so it ignores, pocket change, and because it doesn't round up or round down. So I would stick to whole dollars personally, even if it's only $1. I mean, I've upped items in mass bulk by, a lot before, and ended up selling stuff for $20-30 more than I originally had it listed for 6 straight months, just on the spur like that. And it does work quite a few times. I was really surprised years ago when we first started that, because people used to say, hey, we raise prices and we can sell them. It works. I have no reason why, but it does work. Maybe people think you found out it's worth more and you're raising it, and they want to buy it before it goes up again, or somebody else nabs it. That would be my take on it. Hopefully that answers that, Carl. Again, day of the week, I used to do like auctions, start them. If I did auctions, I used to start them on a Sunday and end them the next Sunday. But, I have as much sales, on Mondays, Tuesdays. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. Sunday mornings are church mornings, usually for a large percentage of the population, in this country anyway. So you'd never want to do them Sunday morning, is the only thing I would say. Would be the only time I probably wouldn't recommend doing it. But anything other than that. I also try to run anything, if I'm going to play around with them, I'm usually doing them after 4 p.m. Just personally me. Again, because people are starting to get off work and things like that too. Again, that's how I do it. I don't do many auctions, though, at all, so I don't really worry about that. I do have a group of items that I'm going to put up on auction, just because I can't really... It's something I don't want to price too high, and it's something I want to move. I got all my money back now, so I'm not really worried about what I get out of them, I guess is the point. You just got to play the field. Again, thanks, Carl, for the $10 super chat. Really appreciate it. Let me see if it'll let me back into my... There we go. Let's pop down here just a few and get to some questions. Yeah, Canada postage is expensive, I can tell you for sure. Hey, Fancy Pink, how are you doing as well? Let's see, your shipping, prices, as he was saying right there. Yeah, you're into basically a British shipping system, and England's pretty expensive if you've messed with England. I ship overseas probably every single day, I think. Yeah, I would probably say at least one item a day probably goes overseas. Some days it's a lot, but every day of the week I ship something overseas. I can safely say that's honestly the case. Even today I shipped 2 or 3 items overseas. One of them was the global shipping program because it was over £4, and the other item was straight first class international. Back in the day, you couldn't do first-class international shipping off of eBay way back when, but that's one of those things I've used for years and years and years and years and years. I've never had an issue. If it's something expensive and you're shipping it overseas, I'll go down and get it registered international first class, and they'll seal it, tape it, and all that kind of stuff. Don't use any glossy tape if you're going down to do that. But then it goes in a lock bag. And, I've never had an issue with that either. So, especially to like England, France, Canada, Germany, Japan, and Australia. Those countries, I've never had an issue shipping anything to any of those countries whatsoever in all these years, 15, 20 years online. Those systems work with the U.S. Postal Service perfectly. No issues with transportation or changing or anything else like that. All of those countries I ship directly to. And as I said, I added in Netherlands, Iceland, a whole bunch of countries, Greenland. I added in Mexico the other day into some. I am starting to ship to China as well with First Class International. I was a little hesitant, but I've had several go through without issue. Time frame's fine, no complaints, and I sold more items that way too. So I'm laxing off on it because even if I lose on one or two items here and there, the amount of items that it increased me selling through dropping out of the global shipping and shipping straight with eBay's new international, it outweighs the possibility of losing one or two here or there. That's like loss in a retail establishment. There's always a percentage of loss that you're going to have to take. In this industry, my percentage of loss is really low. So if I lose a package here or there, it's not a huge ordeal. The only thing I would worry about is feedback, honestly. The money isn't a concern to me at all. In that aspect of it, I should say. Let's see here. About the cost of shipped. Oh, okay, we got that one. Hey, Dom, Primetime Treasure Hunter. You guys should know to check him out if you have not. One of our good friends here. I was chatting with him earlier today for quite some time as well. Dom's a good guy. He has, we're going to set up another show to the Don and Dom show or Dom and Don show, whichever channel it may be on. So we are going to hit up with that. We've got another video concept we're probably going to be putting out here for you guys too. I think I'm on Dom's channel next, and then we're going to have a video thing here on my channel. So there'll probably be two of us together this month, I would say. Or next month, going into March. I was trying to find out if there is a cheaper way to send items from U.S. to Canada than using the U.S. Postal Service. No, I would say not. That's from Mark. If you send out a piece of merchandise in a correspondence envelope, which is just a regular envelope with a stamp, you're technically violating the law because you're not including the import-export forms which are legally allowed or legally required to be on any merchandise shipped out of the country because they would pay a tax or VAT overseas in Europe. So I don't send anything in an envelope, even if they ask, because it's all tracked these days. The Postal Service can look at everything you ship through eBay right this very second. That's why they can come back if you've underpaid or overpaid and either give you credit or charge you more for those items if you messed up on your shipping. I use calculated shipping. It's all paid for by the buyer, so I've never had an issue with anything other than a glitch which eBay ended up crediting me the difference for it when they did the canceling out media options on any category that's not 100% listed as a media. So anyway, let's see where we at. Hustle and Grind. If you want to ship a piece of paper to US with tracking, it would cost $20 Canadian, which is like what, 16 US or something like that, I think. I don't remember the exchange rate right now. So paper, not my thing, unfortunately. Yes, Mark, US piece, it would be the cheapest, I would imagine. Yeah, there's somebody I know who does live in Canada that lives just over the international line there, and he'll come to U.S. to mail his packages once a week, and he did a deal with somebody, and he has people send him packages in Canada to his close area, so nothing goes out of the country without being shipped from the U.S. So I don't know. I think they have some account thing set up where they're like like Ship America for those in the U.S. If you've dealt with the company called Ship America, they will buy things from you for other people out of the country, mostly Japanese folks. You'll ship them to a Los Angeles address, and then Ship America from there will sort them and bulk them overseas, and then they'll individually put them into the Japanese or whatever countries postal service it is. Ship America is the name of it. There's half a dozen of those who buy from us. A lot of overseas. That's why I said if I start opening up more options to first class international to overseas buyers, I can cut those folks out from going through this other service, and they'll spend more on me because they can afford to spend more. It's the same thing with like eBay. eBay's global shipping. This Ship America is the same basic principle. So there's options for stuff like that. So, you know, I would seriously look into that. As I said, we've opened up a few more countries, and I got sales coming in from those countries now. I do not list on the other countries' platforms due to fees and translations and all that kind of stuff too. I know there's a service here on eBay that was offering last Christmas to get your items on 6 other platforms for so much for free to start off with for 6 months, and after that it was going to be charged. I wouldn't do any of that stuff. I'm fine with the U.S. sites. I don't want any issues or levies. I sell enough overseas items through the U.S. platform anyway. Anybody who collects what I sell anyway knows to go to the U.S. site. So, and then as I said, we will have our own personal site real quickly here. The way it's going, I'm very happy with Shopify. So. I'm going to have the videos up the minute I announce, and we'll have a big thing for it. Just FYI. You'll see some promos coming out for the Weebles video. Just FYI, the first one will be on Instagram. We made some Weeble commercials, not like us commercials, but it's going to be an interesting one. I've spent some time on it. The wife's going to be narrating and stuff. You'll see her in it. We actually have somebody else's voice you'll hear in there too who you've never heard before. Spend some time on it. So we're going to do it right. It will be up shortly. It's going to be multiple parts. It's going to go in depth, and we're going to show you the world of Weebles really soon here. Just FYI. For those in Patreon, and I see there's at least 6 or 7 Patreons, new video is posted up about an hour before the show. It's the last half of the Paper Bolo video. And then I've got a store critique coming up on Patreon. And then we're hitting, it's already shot, the photo video. I got 2,000 stills and photos from some magazine companies that had them in their back stock, file copies. And we're going to be going through those in Patreon. You'll see some photo issues here on YouTube too. Not like the video I just put up yesterday, but these are going to be like movie-related collectibles. And we're going to go in depth and talk about those too. I scored out, man. I really scored out on those photos. And I didn't get to look through but maybe a third of them already. Maybe 600 photos I looked through, or 700. And I really scored out on those photos. I'm really happy already with what I see. So anyway, we're going to go real into depth in that. And if you haven't seen the Patreon video, those in Patreon, there's a bolo in there you need to look for right now because it's out there. You'll see I got multiples of the same one, and it's a $60 plus profit item in that one. So anyway, let's pop back to some questions here. Let's see. Amy, how are you doing? Been in Dallas. I worked in Dallas for a couple months. Austin, we've been to Houston. Austin was one of my favorites. We went to, I think it was called Austin City Limits, I think is what it is. I'm not a big, super, super big country fan, but we did go see somebody. And then we went to something rancher. I've been to Gillies, for if anybody knows who Gillies is. The singer, Mickey Gilley. We went to his place, huge place. I had fun in Texas. Let me pop down here. Hang on just a second. Hopton, not many people know if your international buyer pays with PayPal, you can ship paper items same as international stamp price, but with tracking to many countries through eBay shipping. Now, I haven't seen, I'll have to look into that, Hopman. I don't personally, if that's true, I did not know that myself. I have not seen where it gives you tracking that eBay will accept is the problem. Because the international tracking with First Class International, it is tracked already. I can't imagine that they have any special deal with it, but I'm going to look into that one, and I'll probably holler back out and see if Hotman, I would hope he knows what you're talking about. We've talked many times, so I don't think he'd give out bad information at all. Yeah, duties would be my issues, because you can't send legally anything overseas without that form on it. Manage payments you can't log unless you have a PayPal from yourself you can use over and over again to make those shipping labels. Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that one. In fact, let me write that down. I will try one tomorrow. I know I got international sale in there right now. International on a PayPal, huh? I'll have to look up that. Thanks, Hotman. Let me sign on. Hey, Amazon Seller 99. How are we doing this evening? I know I'm behind on feed questions. We're going to try and catch up to it here. Document in the description of goods. Huh. Definitely have to look into that if that's the case. Dom is driving. Uh-oh. Must be getting back from work. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out, though. And I see Carl here, as we already know. Thanks again for the super chat, Carl. Trader Jacks, how are you doing? Let's see here. Hudson Resale, good evening. How are we doing as well? Disney Family 515, good evening to you. Yeah, the spring seller update. You know, I looked over it, and there's nothing that I'm going to worry about at all on there, as I said. The only thing I see is a plus to be able to send offers to watchers and people who viewed your items. They're just increasing the amount you can send out instead of limiting it to 10, is what they had before. Now, I mostly get the offers accepted from the watchers. And for me, I get a lot of watchers, so 1,000 or more on items. And so I can send out a lot. I know when they changed the update, things seem to have changed a little bit with the amount of offers I can send out, though. So I don't know if they've messed things around a little bit or what's going on, or it's not full-fledged rolled out. But you know, there's nothing whatsoever that I could say that needs to panic or even really change any functions going over the update. I didn't even do a video on the last update, and I probably won't even touch much on this update again because it's pretty much business as usual in my book. On the 12th of this coming up month, I'm going to be at eBay up front. I will have anything that's going on that they're going to give out. I will have all that information posted up here on the 13th. I'm meeting up with some folks there as well. So I'll probably shoot some video as long as we're not like told to turn off the camera by eBay, which they may do. I don't really know, but we'll see how it goes there. But on the 13th, I would expect I'll have enough time to have the video up and ready. So if there's anything going on or any insider secrets or anything they want to, they're announcing at any of these events, I'll have it out for you on March 13th. And for those who are going, I'm going to be at the hotel, I think by 4. It doesn't start till 6:30. I think we set up a time to meet somebody at 4. Plus, I don't want to be in rush hour traffic. So I'm going to be in Ann Arbor, Michigan on the 12th in the morning by around 10. So from there on in, I'm meeting one person there, and then I'm heading back towards Detroit like 3-ish. So just FYI, we'll be out and about in Michigan that day. Let's see here. Make sure I don't miss anybody. Let me try and catch up to some questions and stuff. First class international letter option. Yeah, I'm almost sure that, like Hotman talking about the letter option, I'm almost sure the letter option is correspondence, and that is not legit, if I'm not mistaken. Because now that you say letter, I want to say somebody brought that up to me before, and I looked into it. I could be wrong, but I'm going to have to double check on that one. Doctorful. Yeah, I had some technical issues, so I wasn't on at 7. Usually I'm dead on at 7 o'clock when the show starts. YouTube was acting between that. It locked up the page. Wouldn't do anything. I always hate when that happens at the very last second because literally I had just got everything set. I was just about to hit it, and then mouse wouldn't move, nothing. It just totally locked up. Where are we at? Stone Creek Picker. How are you doing, Stony Creek? Let's see here. Michelle, how are you doing? Summers 422. I know you posted something on Patreon. I will check that out first thing in the morning. Just, it'll probably be around 12, but I will be on there tomorrow. Let's see. Let me pop down. Hey, Andrew, how are you doing? It has been a little while. Haven't seen you on in a little while. Hope all is well with you. Diane 0618, hello. Jason Blake, welcome. Michelle's in the house too. Welcome as well, Michelle. Gina, I got Joseph. Well, this is my video. Let's see. I'm good. How are you, Andrew? Got my popcorn ready. Sean Pearson, Sandhill Treasures. How are you doing? Yeah, I guess inadvertently I hid somebody. I must have clicked something I shouldn't have. I accidentally clicked on it. Let me slide down here. Yeah, I don't worry about the thumbs down. I don't even pay attention to that. Yeah, when you go into YouTube now, with them changing the page from what we see, I don't even see the thumbs down at all. They don't. It's so unimportant to YouTube apparently that they don't even show it. I have to like click on several things just to see if there's a thumbs down on it these days. So I don't even bother, honestly, because the new YouTube pages that we have to see, the dashboard is terrible. The old way they had it was so much easier. I got to click like 4 things to do what it took me 1 click before to do. It's like the worst thing I've seen. If you guys worry about eBay and stuff, YouTube has made it so much more difficult than anything else. It's to the annoying aspect on it. Nazar, how are you doing? Rich Sanders, welcome to the show. Oh, let me pop down here. 1991 Windsor. Now, I never wait if there's people or not because the video just is saved and it plays later. I literally had technical issues. Yeah, I'm not trying to make anybody wait, Andrew. And Joseph Kenny, how are you doing? Doug Impossible. Yeah, I don't know. I must have hit your thing somewhere on there and it must have blocked it for a second, but it's back up. Leesburg, Virginia. I have been to Leesburg, Eddie. We have a relative, a cousin who lives in there. I actually lived in Alexandria, Virginia for a while. 3 years through 9/11. Let's see here. Clean and clear from Oregon. How are you doing, Ray? Regina Hoffman, how are you doing? Welcome, Grace. David Rubino, how are you doing? Greg Murray. Cynthia Belk, welcome. Dahlia's Vintage, welcome as well. SG, I have at least an hour commute home, so you'll help me pass the time. Hope you are having a great day, everyone. Mercury is in retrograde. Jason, hello from northwest Pennsylvania, getting pounded by snow tonight. Yeah, we had a level 2 snow advisory yesterday. No school. I didn't even have to leave the house today, which was probably a first. I don't think I've ever had a day where I didn't have to go somewhere. So it was really nice. I slept until I think 8:30 or so, which is something I almost never do. Well, I'll take that. I got up at 6 because the school doesn't tell you to the last minute. So I went back to bed around 7 when they finally canceled school today. They said last night it was going to be delayed, but we're sitting at like 12 or 14 degrees, I think, and it's still snowing right now. So I don't know what the weather's going to be in the morning. I don't even look at the weather anymore. My stuff's in the garage, so if I need to get out, I just open the garage and go. Yeah, Etsy does have its issues. I don't care for Etsy's policies at all anymore. If something else comes along, that's why I can't believe that Amazon isn't hammering Homemade by Amazon. You know, I've got stuff up on there even. Gary, how are you doing, Gary? Welcome. Yeah, eBay is getting stuff kind of screwy. Joseph, shipping has got too high to sell on a lot of things on Posh. I couldn't deal with Posh, honestly, either. We did try Poshmark with clothing. I don't like to share. I want to put it up, forget it, and never have to worry about it again, unless I want to like mess around with the prices at some point. I mean, but that's just a given. And I don't worry about shipping for me, as I said, because I bill everybody. Everybody who buys from me pays for shipping. If somebody buys a $3 postcard, they pay like $3.70 to have it shipped. You know? So I don't really worry. And I sell quite a few things in that range. So Etsy, Carl, just type in Etsy force promoted and you'll see it right there. Just do a search. Dom has a post in his thing, but I am on one of the board things for Etsy as well too, and they announce things ahead of, well, not announce, they like run them by people, just like eBay's I can't think of the name of it, Expressions. They run stuff by us. In fact, they just ran some stuff by survey the other day, which I'm not supposed to talk about, but they've got some changes that are actually coming around that may be good. And with them not pushing out the pay-per-clicks. Maybe they're actually looking at actually trying to help the sellers for once. You can't keep selling, 6% less every year. Pretty soon you're not going to be having any sales on your platform. So hopefully they're taking that in consideration. Michelle, I love McCreary right now. I'm selling way more over there and fees so much lower. Yeah, it depends on what you sell, I guess. I mean, I've looked into it, but nothing I want to sell is over there. I get more money on most of the stuff that I could put on McCreary on Amazon, so I'm just going to send it all to Amazon. Yeah, Amazon seller 99. The major marketplaces don't have a shortage of sellers, so they know they can squeeze us for more money. And eBay has openly announced to all their boards, to all of the stockholders and stakeholders in the company, that they're making most of their money, their profits, coming from fees and fees alone, and they want to increase their profits through more promoted listings from us. So they're being very blunt about what they plan on doing. I mean, they think they got us all by the hamstrings, I guess you could say at this point. It's not going to take, rocket science to say that what they're doing is not sustainable. Business 101, you can't keep raising fees and not selling, let's say they're raising fees and they're selling less items each year. So if you're selling less items and the fees keep going up, that gap between those two is going to be too big that you're not going to have people coming on the platform to sell, and they're going to screw themselves. I mean, I see it coming. It's going to run the same way as like Goodwill in my area. Goodwills run themselves out of customers in their stores. Maybe they're making all their money online, fine and dandy, but if you're opening a store and running a brick and mortar, the fees on that, whether they're a charitable organization or not, have got to be drag on their company. You can only keep that up so much as well, and people aren't going to want to donate when they see that you're, raking it out online sometimes. A lot of people might have a problem with that if they see the state of the stores, at least from what I see it. I could conceivably see, some more even Goodwills and Salvation Armies closing around here. At least the ones that aren't, specifically having their own thing. I can see that coming down the road, honestly. For those of you who only sell clothing, I would seriously 100%, tell you on the most urgency that you need to start sourcing outside of clothing. At least start that trek to a few other items here and a few other items there. Because what happens if it all crashes totally, or eBay turns it off or doesn't allow it or zeroes everything because of counterfeits and knockoffs? Amazon's already starting to do some of this. So, it's just a matter of time before eBay is going to be caught in the same thing, having to go in front of Congress to say they're allowing Chinese knockoffs into the country. So, you can't just one day all suddenly know another category. So, it's taken me decades to know everything that I know in the categories I sell in. And I don't know shoes. I don't know so much stuff. I don't know any sports stuff. But the stuff that I sell, I know, and it's taken me a long time. So I would honestly, you guys got to start doing it right now. Start finding other stuff to sell. If you have no thrift stores, there's no sales in the winter, you're up in north like us, you got to have another avenue to find merchandise when there's no other sourcing avenues. You've got to find some other sources, because that's where the majority of people aren't finding good stuff, or they're not finding enough stuff and they can't support themselves, and they're quitting eBay left and right now. It's like in my town, it's almost a mass exodus, it seems like, which I'm fine with, because again, less people to compete with, and I'm getting their merchandise for some of these folks. So, I'm not trying to, make light of somebody else's situation, but it's going to get tougher. I'm not saying reselling will never go away, but it's going to get tougher. It's going to be the strong surviving, and the rest of the folks are going to be left at the wayside if you don't spend a lot of time and invest in this. This is not an easy job. Do you have what it takes, I guess, is the point here. Do you have the ability to work 20 hours a day if that's what it takes 6 days a week? Are you willing to work every day of the week for a couple months straight and put everything aside? Don't spend, don't buy a new shirt, don't buy this, don't buy that, just to be able to carry yourself over to build up enough income, or, a stockpile of money so you can buy bigger and better stuff as time goes by. That's the only way I can see anybody getting into this now and making it work. Now, again, I've been in this for a while, so I've already got over the hump and we've done all that stuff and figured out what works for what I do. And it does work. I can show sales every day of the week, but I don't want people just come back and making nasty comments that I'm trying to brag on sales when they're hurting. I don't know what everybody else does in sales, but my sales are fourth quarter sales still. I said this before, I said this last year. Fourth quarter for me is the same as first quarter for me. I've got that whole winter time frame. A lot of stuff that I sell are older folks. They're retired and things like that, or colleges and things. So it happens at the end of the year. They have to spend budget money. They get a new form of, or a new budget for the first of the year so they can buy new stuff. So I can set my clock to some types of personal purchases from certain people. There's businesses that I deal with too. In fact, another one just bought $700 worth of cards for me in one day from that one person. So that adds up. You gotta have these extra revenue sources. You cannot just go on one solid platform unless you've got some major hookup that well beyond anything I can get, which there's people out there that do have that. So, but for the majority of everybody out there, you need more. You need diversity. You need to diversify your store desperately. Again, I'm not trying to scare anybody out because time will tell, but from everything that's going on, everything I've thought or wrote down or projected would happen with the industry has been happening with the way it's been branching off, and eBay sales are going down overall for the whole platform. New sites are coming online and all this other stuff, and again, that's why I've branched out to other platforms, because again, you can't rely on one single site anymore, because a lot of people may not even still go to eBay for this item or that item, or they'll find it here, they'll find it there. That's why it's depressing to see that Etsy is going to go the same way as a corporate America money grubbing thing. Etsy's uniqueness was the fact that it has personal made items like one-offs and things like that people take pride and care into creating, and that's what I personally like about Etsy. But the company doesn't care. Apparently they don't care that these people, some people that are on Etsy too, there's a far higher percentage of people on Etsy that do this as a hobby and aren't necessarily working it for making a fortune or a living. And it's just crazy that they would consider forcing everybody to advertise their items and pay them almost 3 times as much as the regular fee to have it promoted. So at the end of the day, it's going to be close to a 20% fee that Etsy is going to take for something that sells through them promoting it on Google or whatever they are paying for, without an option to turn that off if you made over 10 grand, which is, again, 10 grand is a joke for people who have a lot of items like us. So, day one, I would already be forced into the program instantly, and I would not be happy about that. So we're really seriously been thinking about, maybe closing down Etsy and pushing more towards our own personal site and promoting and paying for my site to be advertised, as opposed to paying Etsy to maybe do something for me with no proof on which ones were really sold through promoted or not. I mean, there's nothing they're ever going to show us that shows that I was deserving to pay for a promoted listing fee, just like eBay, technically. So anyway. But that's a good point, though, Amazon seller. Yeah, Poshmark has had a drop on there, too, because of the policies and other platforms. This is the slow time of year, so a lot of people don't realize you got to change your inventory up on winter months for some of your stores, or at least add a bunch of winter items into your store. Like on Poshmark, if you're just selling typical t-shirts and things like that here, short sleeve shirts and things like that, you're not going to sell as many in the winter months. I don't care if there's somewhere on the globe people are in warm weather. The majority of people buying off Poshmark are U.S. citizens, and it's cold for most of the country. And there's other things going on. The virus right now is going to slow down a lot of business for people, for what I can see, including some other items. I even had a conversation with somebody on selling items virus related, which I won't do. I'll never sell something, even if I can make a ton of money, if it's medical related, because I think everybody should have medical coverage, and I wouldn't want to be part of the problem. So I will never sell masks or anything like that. No insult to anybody else or the person I discussed that with. Not an insult, because several other people, and we've talked about this before, but I won't do it. I don't care if I can triple my money overnight. I'm not going to do it. It's just not my thing. I have some sense of what feels right to me, and that doesn't feel right. I have a kid who's got a pre-existing condition, so trust me, I don't hold anything towards stuff like that. Halo Penny, how are you doing? Fancy Pink, agreed. Poshmark, yeah, I got to that one. Lots of messages on McCreary, but not lots of sales this month. The Goodwill outlets pre-sort everything now. It's annoying. Yeah, they pre-sort everything. They put stuff out on the shelf that has price tags, and they want more than the price tag on the clothing in some items. Yeah, that's the thing with McCreary. It's only U.S. Yeah, you never know. McCreary could be a takeoff thing here. It's hard to say because of fees, so I go wherever it is, and I have looked into it. I just don't have enough to make it worth my hassle or anything. Just like Bonanza. Yeah, Disney Family 515. Forcing pay-per-click promoted on Etsy defeats the purpose. If everyone is promoted, there is no advantage to having a promotion. Well, Disney Family 515, with that, they're talking, there's two types of promotions on Etsy, if you're unaware. There's Etsy-only promotions, where you only promote it on Etsy. The promotions that Etsy is talking about adding that are going to be required are off-site promotions. So they'll integrate them in with Google. Let's say you have a Mardi Gras mask. We're Mardi Gras season. So let's say you got a Mardi Gras mask, and there's an item on another page which Google, it's similar to Mardi Gras. Google might advertise your mask on some other site, other page, through Google, next to a Mardi Gras item for your mask. So stuff like that is a different story, because not everybody's going to be selling the same thing. Again, the forced one is not the promoted items on Etsy. It's the promoted items off platform. Kind of like what eBay does sometimes too. It's wrong either way, though. I fully agree with you. Evening, Gina. Yeah, I don't know about Savers being bought out, but there are 37 thrift stores within 6 miles of my home. I don't go to any of them anymore. The prices are appalling. Doctorful. Good point. Oh, Carl's found it there. I got like 7 in my town. Prices can be high, but it's like a challenge picking what they don't know to price high. They've hired, and they have hired some folks that know their stuff, because I'm telling you, there used to be even the junk that I could get that most people think was junk are now not showing up at all, and I'm seeing it online. I'll look at the local stores' online pages just to see what they got. They sell, most of the stuff on Goodwill goes for more than eBay. I don't get it. I don't see how somebody can get something cheap. And their descriptions are terrible. Their shipping's terrible from what I've personally seen. We've bought some stuff on there just to give it a shot and see what they have. I wouldn't do it again, honestly. Because their descriptions are so... to get an answer from them is impossible. Yeah, Duncan's saying, what I sell, there is no season. So my fourth quarter is just like my first quarter. Now, some of my other items on Amazon RA and stuff like that, my sales may dip and go here and there, but I've got other avenues and other ways to push my sales back up. Maybe not those specific items. We just floor it with other items and put new listings on in different categories. I talk about this. We've got, a 90-day, 60-day plan. When certain items are slow, we don't list them anymore. I change my listing structure during certain times of the year. This time of year, I sell the stuff that is always, selling, like collectibles and stuff. So I'll list a ton of those, and I'll steer away from the items like electronics or RA, and I don't do that very much this time of year. Most of the stores, all the markdowns are gone around here, the few that they had. Hey, Carlene, how are you doing this evening? It can do on replay, of course. Andrew, I like the old photo video. That was very good info. Just sold in a CDV today. I do very well in old photos, Andrew. And I love old photos. I've got a collection of old photos myself. I draw some of them. I do all kinds of stuff with it. Joseph, I've never dabbled in old papers, but I know a good place. I would start if I was you. Okay, hang on. My feed just disappeared. We're just going to go for just a little longer here. Yeah, it's after 8 already. I've had a long day. We've been working all day. I've got another art professor video coming up too, so more paper stuff. Something a little interesting. There's some more metal videos coming up as well too. Something different coming up on that channel as well. Let me see here. Kilroy, like for making money on Amazon, I can sell used DVDs, used CDs, used video games. I can sell collectibles. I can sell postcards. I can sell vintage records, vinyl. Everything I sell on Amazon almost, or on eBay, collectible-wise, I can sell on Amazon. Plus, I can sell Legos, action figures, Migos. I'm ungated in a lot. You get grandfathered in. And if you're gated at when you first start off, once you've done enough business, there's many categories that they will allow you to be ungated for because you've got a good track record and proven that you send out in time and you meet Amazon's sales standards, like shipment time, the quality of your items, and all that kind of stuff. I've got 100% positive feedback rating on Amazon right now, which is really hard. I don't have any dings on Amazon. Well, I had a Richard Pryor one, but they finally took that one off. Richard Pryor was the only one that gave me an issue. They originally dinged me 8 times for the same item, and then they backed it down to 4, and now it was down to 2, and now they just threw the last 2 off my account. Well, thank you, Carolina Picks, for the $5 super chat. Much appreciated. Very kind of you to do that. You don't have to do it. I even forget it's there sometimes. While we're on the line of super chats, if anybody wants to click that like button if you enjoyed the show, I got 215, almost 220 people on right now and 66 likes only. So if you enjoyed it, please hit the like button for me. It does help at least the metrics of visibility on YouTube for some reason. Let's see, where are we at now? Amazon's a very good platform, in all honesty. I don't knock it. In fact, I have less issues with the policies on Amazon than I do on eBay, in all honesty. 1901 China postcard I sourced for 10 euros. Yeah, I do very well on China postcards. Yeah, we've sold China postcards for like $500 and $600 that I paid $1 for. And I've sold postcards for over $1,000. There's postcards. One of the highest selling postcards is a Babe Ruth postcard. It sold for like $100,000 for a postcard. Japan's not as good, but I do okay in Japan. Yeah, be careful, Michelle, on some of those China postcards. There's some China postcards that instead of going for 100, they could have went for 5 or 6 if it was like a Hong Kong area. So always watch out on those and spend your time researching them. And if you need help on those, Michelle, let me know. Let's see here. I did a video lady test. Not sure what you're talking about there, Dom. I don't know if you're drinking and driving out there or something, but that sounds a little odd. Let's see here. Last year called Why I Hate Thrift Stores for Sourcing. Yeah, I don't like thrift stores at all. I mean, I used to love them, but nowadays you can't find anything. Even fun stuff you can't find. And Carl read that too. Yeah, you're going to pay almost 20%, Carl. If you add in the fees for taking the money part of it, you got the 4 or 5% for the normal fee, you got the 12%, and then you got the final fee on the payment itself. You got almost 20% coming from Etsy. That's higher than eBay. Yeah, it doesn't go into effect until April, I think, Carl, either. Yeah, Etsy, I still don't get Etsy doing that. Hang on just a second here. My feed's frozen up. Anytime it wants. There we go. Yeah, let me get to where I'm at. I just lost my spot. Yeah, it's way off. Yeah, Gail, the Gillies in Texas was massive. I think it was the biggest bar in the country. They had, I don't know how many Bronco Bulls in there. Not the same thing as the one you're talking about. At least I don't believe it is. Yeah, I've been through Dallas, or not Dallas, through Atlanta. I worked in Georgia for a little while even. Glen Burn area. Let me see where we're at. I'm sorry, my feed's just all over. I think I'm getting close. Hang on, we'll just answer a couple more questions. Oh, I can't stay on too late. I got to get up real early in the morning. My eBay sales are up 257% this month. Monthly auctions and just a few fixed price sales. Feels like 2004 again. Hopman's, my sales have been all over the place. I mean, just tons of sales. One day alone, well, like last night, I sold 62 items last night. Since 3 p.m. Yesterday afternoon to 7 or so in the morning, or what was it, 6:30-ish in the morning, 60 some odd items sold in that time frame on the one single store, not counting. I sold a bunch of postcards on Hip. We've got Discogs. I've got my other site on eBay, and then we've got Amazon and a couple other platforms as well too. So I have no complaints on sales at all at this point whatsoever with what I sell. But again, I've ditched the stuff that doesn't sell. And even with some of the niches I'm in, if the niche starts to go astray and I'm not making much money in it, I'm going to ditch it. And I'll just go somewhere else and look for other items. That's all there is to it. Yeah, either you're up or you're way down. There's no in between here from what I see. The people that have told me they're up, they're way up, and the people who told me they're down, they're way down to a desperate situation point. Andrew's saying he's up too. Let's see here. Andrea, Kansas City. I don't think I've been to Kansas City. I've been in Kansas before. Andrew, if you're looking at eBay to tell you that you're up 45% over last year, that's only going to tell you your top two categories. That doesn't mean your store is up over last year. That only means those two categories are up over last year. The only information that I use to tell year over last is my own numbers, because I want to know total numbers, not eBay's telling me I'm up 42% or whatever. So if you're looking at eBay's percentage of up, it's only in two categories, which doesn't give you any honest estimate. So again, I go by sales projection sheets, which I'm going to show you in a video, so everybody will be able to do it if they want. Thank you, Shane. Appreciate the comment. Mountain Man Treasures. I saw so much international. Yesterday I had 3 of my 5 sales go international. Yeah, I do free returns for 30 days in the U.S. I do not do free returns at all overseas. You can set up a business policy, and with the business policy, you can set it up so U.S. sales go one way and overseas sales go another. So I do not do any free returns from overseas. And just like I said, 4 pounds and over only goes global shipping. 4 pounds and under to the specific countries I ship to goes first class international. And I am going to check into Hotmans. I did take a note on that too. And you're welcome, Carl. Let's see if we can get a couple more questions. Are you a collector? Good evening. Are you a collector? I would assume you're talking about raising your prices up and down. That does work. I have done it way too many times and had great success. There's no way it doesn't work. I mean, anybody who tells you it doesn't work either has, pardon me, crappy items or only doing it a penny or something. Solid whole numbers would be the only thing I would recommend either as well. Crystal, how are you doing? Like running 10-day auctions starting Thursday night, then the thing is in front of eyes on 2 weekends and ends Sunday night. I have so much better luck not doing auctions. I always would recommend as a bin for most people, in all honesty, you can check this out for yourself. Go to Terapeak and see your items that you're selling. See how many sold as an auction, and then see how many sold as a bin. And then compare the highest price items, whether they sold via auction or whether they sold via a bin. And 9 out of 10 times, the highest selling items in those categories are bins, because no one knows what they will sell for. No one wants to wait. I have tried most items as an auction, and most of the time the best way, over and above any other way, is to do them a bin with a BO. Price them high and set them up and just forget about them. That's what I personally do. If it works for you, great. More power to you, Mountain Man Treasure. But I have not seen that result at all. And looking at eBay's own ended sales results, you'll far outweigh doing a bin than you ever would as an auction by eBay's own data on Terapeak, just FYI. I've looked into that very extensively, too. Yeah, I don't ship directly to Italy either. Hey, Steve. Steve Elmore is here. How are you doing? Stunlaw 1, good evening. Hey, Bob. How are you doing, Mr. Hale? Yeah, we've got 126 on my end, or 226 people watching right now on my end. Let's see here. I've sold 78s to Japan through them. I ship 78s to Japan straight. I do not use global shipping because a single record is 3 pounds in it's a 12 by 12 by 8 inch box with double walled sides. 3 pounds, you can send any 78 out. Pamela, how are you doing? You're welcome as well. Yeah, I don't mess with the web interpret at all. Weebles, not weevils. Weebles. Let's see here. Weebles have been around for a very long time, since the 70s. Starting live on Patreon, I'm still waiting on a few more folks there. I was trying to get half of the folks in there to at least respond to what time is best for a live show. It'll be once a month, a live show just for Patreon. They used to have a Gillies in Hinesville. I already got to that one. Hang on. Yeah, if they add it to the cart, that may be useful and it may not. People, a lot of the times I get people that think I can see what's in their cart and don't realize that I can't. The cart in some ways is a nuisance in my book, personally. Yeah, Michelle's saying that if people are going to be getting offers from just looking at a thing, people are going to try and turn those off, because I get those right now occasionally. I'll get something that I just looked at. Here's an offer you may be interested in. That may be something people want to turn off or can complain about if they're getting tons of these things, because everybody's going to be using that feature. And sometimes people are just looking because they're, trying to price or trying to see the conditions and things like that. So I don't know if it'll be good or bad. It's hard to say. At least with what I'm selling, they're niches, and no one's going to be looking at a card from 1870 or a postcard from a town unless they're interested in that thing. It's not something you'd randomly run across in my book, so it's hard to say. Yeah, and Michelle's saying the same thing. She looks up so many things while sourcing. Excuse me. Let me pop down. Never Ending Saga, how are you doing? Mike Calla, how are you doing? Mike, for trade cards, I get them from people I know and from collectors, so I can't give you the best place to get them. Every place you source, that's different. I know where I get them, and I'm not going to sit there and give you names of people I get them from. I mean, you're going to have to do the legwork yourself, is all I can tell you. There's a source in almost every region that you can get pretty much anything you want if you know how to dig for it. That's what I can tell you. Most people just don't look outside the box and are thinking of standardized sourcing locations and just aren't stepping out of their place to see other ways to do stuff. I can source anything. Doris, how are you doing? RV there yet? How are you doing as well? I don't ship directly to Ukraine. I would only do global shipping to Ukraine. I can tell you that for sure. Any country in that area, I don't ship directly to at all. I have a list of hundreds of countries too that are on my I won't ship to no matter what list. You can block people from even buying from you global shipping program wise as well too by setting up your seller preferences by your shipping. You can knock off whole entire continents if you want. And there's places I don't ship to at all, no matter what. I've been to Rockville before. Used to go through Laurel, Maryland even a lot. And thank you very kindly, Doug Impossible. Have you already discussed topic of video? I've went on it as well too. The beginning of the video, we talked about what's going on. This ties back to the video on wasting time at local thrift stores. I haven't sourced as a sourcing venue at a thrift store like a real thing for probably 4 or 5 years in all honesty. I don't do thrift stores. I don't do garage sales. Sometimes I do estate sales, but I don't even really have to do those anymore. These days, people just call me for the most part because they know I get cash out usually. They don't have to wait around. I'm always there if I say I'm going to be there. You know, that's the key to what I do. I know the type of people that usually will sell to me. Friends of my pickers will even say, hey, I got this, and they'll sell it to them, and then I'll buy it from them. And, you know, that's my best sourcing venue is from other people that call me. Literally. Again, I've done this for a long time, more than a decade. So if something shows up in town, I usually hear about it, you know, from another seller, another vendor or something. Somebody will call me or somebody will text me and say, this is here, this is there, and that's what I go with. Those are my best places. Sourcing-wise, though, with like thrift stores, if you had to source from a thrift store in this town where I live, you'd be starving. You'd live on the street. There's no way you can survive on a thrift store here in this town, for sure. And that's why I'm getting people selling me their inventory when they're going out of business as a reseller, left and right, as I said. I'm just repeating this just real quick here. I have 3 people this week that want to sell me all of their inventory right this very second who are local. So that's not a good thing, but, you know, it helps me out, but, you know. So they take out any countries sellers have trouble with. No, you are responsible, Doris, to take out the countries you do not want to ship through, and that is through the Shipping Preferences tab under Business Policies. That's all you got to do. You can set up anything you want. I have a video even discussing that, too. Amani 915. That app is only for the phone, removing the background. And I don't use a phone to list anything except RA items on Amazon. Everything we use is a laptop or a PC tower or a server. I hate listing from a phone. There's no way on earth I could do most of my business on a phone because we have a lot of business and a lot of items. You can't do it when you get up like us. Thank you, Gary. Good to see you on. Again, for those in Patreon video went up just before the show, so there is a 30-minute video up there, I think is what it ended up being. Last half, there's some good bolos in that video, something you can look for right this very second, too, for those in Patreon. Let's see here. Dr. Phil, I just sold something. When I check buyer's profile, it says they are based in Portugal. The shipping address for them is in Texas. Person's name is the same. I don't worry about where they have it shipped to. As long as you ship something to the address that's in the payment form and you don't change anything, it doesn't matter where it goes to. Some people might have a address in another country. Some people might have relatives and just have it sent here, or they're going to be in the country and pick it up when they're there. I don't even look at any of that stuff. It doesn't matter. If the person's a con artist, you're going to get your money back from eBay when you file a report with them. So I don't even worry about where it goes. I don't look at how much feedback they have, any of that stuff. Either I ban them if I have an issue and I file a report with eBay and I just move on. I don't care what address it goes to as long as it's the address and the payment. If somebody asks me after the fact to ship it somewhere else, I don't do that. It's just FYI. Hey, boy. Doggy's here again. So I don't worry about any of those addresses. Let's just get to one more. I've got Rummage for Riches. I'm clearing out an estate and found 2 medium-sized boxes with slides and 8mm reels from 1970 when the couple traveled to the Philippines and Hong Kong. Those would definitely be good. Definitely be something worth looking into. Slides are a little newer, but film usually sells fairly well. You'll probably make your money on the Hong Kong film itself if that's what you got. But we're going to have to cut it off here. We're already gone a little later than I had been expecting. Hour and a half mark. Again, if you didn't hit the like button, I've got around 230 people on as of right this second. So if anybody hadn't hit that and you did enjoy the conversation, please hit the like button. Do have a new video coming out tomorrow. You might see 2 shorter videos tomorrow because there's 2 separate topics here on YouTube. One's addressing an issue with some con job going from Instagram where they're doing some stuff that I'm kind of questioning whether it's legal. And then we've got another topic coming out also. So that'll probably both be out tomorrow. And as I said, there will be another art professor coming out. Patreon video, I do have another one that's already shot and is almost edited that will be out this weekend as well. So I do appreciate everybody coming on tonight. Again, hit the like button if you haven't. Tell your friends if you enjoyed the conversation. Try to give you the most information I can. But I do appreciate everybody coming on, and I hope you have a good day.